Hello and welcome to the iCandy Duo podcast. I'm your host, Naomi Williams. This podcast is brought to you by iCandy World, makers of beautifully British pushchairs for parents across the globe. Hello and welcome to the first ever iCandy Duo podcast. We are talking this week with Siobhan Miller, the founder of the Positive Birth Company. Siobhan and her team have been on a mission to make hypnobirthing accessible for all, committed to empowering women around the world and their birth partners to create positive birth experiences and supporting women in pregnancy, birth and beyond. Hi Siobhan, it's so lovely to meet you and thank you so much for joining us on the iCandy Duo podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Fantastic. And how are you guys doing? Obviously, COVID, pandemic, it's been a bit of a challenging, strange time for us all. How are the guys at the Positive Birth Company doing?
Yeah, well, at the minute, we're self-isolating, so not so great. But so I'm just home alone at the minute and have been for the last 12 days. But looking forward to being able to go out again, out into the world.
I know, it's kind of an extraordinary thing to even think about,
It's
isn't
a
it?
strange time.
Yeah, even going to the supermarket feels like kind of almost like a weekend trip to Venice at the
I feel
moment.
like on Thursday, I'm going to run down the street like I'm free.
Because with the Positive Birth Company, I've seen obviously you guys do a lot of sort of digital online courses and stuff. So
Yes.
I guess you're quite equipped for this period. But just for some of our listeners that might not be totally familiar with what you guys do, could you just kind of give us a quick summary of what the Positive Birth Company is?
Sure. So what we are now is a company on a mission to make antenatal and postnatal education and support more accessible for everyone. What we started out initially was as offering hypnobirthing classes. Initially, that was face-to-face hypnobirthing classes, so your kind of standard antenatal class where you go to a venue and sit, with a teacher and other couples. Then in 2018, we launched our online program, which is the Digital Pack. And that really took off, and that's all online. And then from there, we developed a postnatal course and various other bits and pieces. So we've kind of evolved over time. So yeah, we were very much a digital company even before COVID happened. Most of our courses were offered online.
Right, fantastic. I mean, it's obviously like you guys had a crystal ball coming up with the situation we're in now. But when you first started kind of, like you say about the hypnobirthing classes and stuff like that, what's the ultimate kind of goal? Did you ever imagine it would become what it is today?
I had no idea. I had no idea it would become what it is today. But my goal was to make it more accessible because I found it deeply unfair that you had to have quite a lot of disposable income to be able to afford private hypnobirthing classes. And just from my own experience, when I had my first son, that wasn't something that was available to me. So I actually went into labour, quite uninformed and quite naive, and therefore had quite a difficult labour and induction. My son was born in theatre after 2 days of induced labour, and it wasn't by any means a positive or empowering experience. And then fast forward 7 years, when I was having my second son, I was able to do a hypnobirthing course, and that really changed everything for me. It changed how I felt in my pregnancy. My birth was the most amazing day of my life. And my postnatal period, as a result, was a lot happier, more positive experience as well. So it really offered me a huge amount of benefits. And so when I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher, my kind of key objective was that every woman should be able to access this birth education and have the opportunity of a really positive and empowering experience, which for me comes down to having that access to that education in the first place. So that was always sort of our goal, was to make birth education more accessible for everyone.
That's incredible. And actually just, to be able to lean into your own, obviously, personal experience is such a kind of, an impetus to start such a thing and be able to, like you say, kind of pass on the knowledge that you have. And it's crazy, actually, considering, you just saying, your first birth was you were 2 days in labour. I don't think anything like that would ever like not knock the wind out of me hearing that.
Yeah.
But I know it's such a familiar thing. I know from my own friends and stuff, like, you know, that's almost becomes part of almost like this unspoken truth about birth, where it's fascinating to know that actually, like you say, it can actually be quite an empowering and you know, it can be an absolutely amazing experience, labour. It doesn't have to be this terrifying thought. So, you know, when you say hypnobirthing, from what you'd say about, you know, your first labour experience, how did it help? Like, what actually does hypnobirthing mean?
Sure. So hypnobirthing really is just a form of antenatal education, and the hypno element puts people off, I think, or makes them think it's a bit woo-woo, which is a shame, because actually hypnobirthing is really quite scientific and based in an understanding of the physiology of your body and your psychology, the psychology of birth, essentially. So it is quite scientific, which I think surprises people, but also gets all of the kind of skeptics on board as well. So when I went along to the hypnobirthing course when I was pregnant, you know, first off, we learned about how the muscles of the body work in labour, how the hormones you produce actually influence how the muscles work. And once I even understood just the basics of the mechanics behind birth, I really was able to understand better what had happened to me the first time and what I could do differently the second time. So it was hugely insightful. Before I even got to giving birth again, just understanding what had happened to me before was just, really huge in terms of overcoming any fear that I had, because I thought, actually, I know more and can do more. So the first sort of part of a hypnobirthing course is always the science. Then you learn lots and lots of relaxation techniques. And those relaxation techniques include breathing and massage and mindfulness techniques. And I always say they're life skills, because they're things that you can use for the rest of your life, anytime you feel anxious or worried or apprehensive or overwhelmed, any of those emotions. But you learn those relaxation tools so that when you go into labour, you are able to be calm and relaxed and produce oxytocin, which is the hormone that actually fuels those surges or those contractions. So it is actually very scientific, contrary to what it sounds like.
And I have to say, because I, even just from, you know, looking on the website and just kind of familiarising myself with it, because like you say, I think the word hypno can seem a little bit too holistic, or it might seem kind of, no, if you're having I say this and do a quote unquote thing with my hands here, like an easy or straightforward birth. And the thing that really surprised me is, you know, you've got examples of women that they've applied this technique and they've had twins, and it isn't just necessarily a home birth scenario. It's, oh no, this is with a midwife, this was in hospital. It's, you know, I was quite surprised by the number, the ways that you can apply this in various different pregnancies.
Yes, it's a really common misconception that hypnobirthing is just for people having home water births, you know, kind of really intervention-free, straightforward births. But I honestly believe it's more important to have done a hypnobirthing course when your birth is actually more challenging, because when things are easy and straightforward, you might not even need to use half of what you've learned. But actually, when things are more challenging, like if you're navigating an induction and different decisions, hypnobirthing is going to really help you, because those times can be quite stressful. So one, you have the tools, the practical tools you can use to actually, you know, feel calm and relaxed. Secondly, we teach a framework to help you make informed decisions. So again, really useful in those scenarios. And essentially, when you're making an informed choice, even if it wasn't what you originally hoped for, but at least you understand the options, it's your choice, you feel it's the best route for you and your baby, you're going to feel a lot more positive about that pathway, compared to if you feel very out of control, you're being told what to do, you don't really understand why, and you end up going down a path where perhaps there's a lot of intervention and you don't understand why. That's what can leave a lot of women feeling very traumatized by their birth experience. So it's really important that people feel informed and respected and listened to and in control. And hypnobirthing really gives people the tools and techniques to enable them to be in that position.
Yeah, I find that, because just listening to you, and actually you're so right, you know, as a woman, I don't have any children, but there isn't, you know, when I think about my own professional life, there isn't really a scenario where I would, you know, say go into a meeting and be, you know, maybe only half aware of what I was going into. And do you see what I mean? It's almost the same sort of application. And I think it is quite a fascination where there are so, like as we were talking previously, like I've got a number of different friends, and I don't think that like maybe one in every, 20 have said, oh yeah, straight in, straight out, or 3 hours, easy peasy kind of thing. Everyone has a kind of a bit of a journey with their birth, and which is to be expected. It's quite an event. It's not going to be necessarily so straightforward. And I think it's actually just like you say, just being totally kind of in charge of your opinions, no matter what happens and what kind of gets thrown at you. And it is kind of a strange scenario where that maybe because of the medical background and things that we're kind of so been taught, we would not necessarily we wouldn't want to go in with all those opinions. So it's really interesting to kind of, like you say, just to armor yourself and just so you're just informed, really, and so you can just keep that calm.
Absolutely. I always say knowledge is power. The more you know, the better equipped you are to navigate your birth experience, because, we can't guarantee what birth is going to go like. It can pan out in various ways, but at least if you're prepared for all the different pathways, you're in a really good, strong position. And I think as well, just culturally, you sort of touched on it, but, we're very much conditioned. The little that we do know growing up is that birth is meant to be scary or traumatic. Whenever we see images of birth or depictions of birth on TV, or, we just hear stories and stuff, what we do know is actually very negative typically. So a lot of hypnobirthing is trying to kind of undo that and actually build new positive associations with birth through listening to affirmations or reading positive birth stories or watching positive birth videos, instead of ones that have been kind of fictional births for television, which aren't really reflective of what your average birth would look like. And actually overcoming that fear, because it's the fear that means you're more likely to produce adrenaline, which has quite a negative impact when you're in labour on actually how your muscles are able to work. So a lot of hypnobirthing is about overcoming that kind of fear that we have potentially ingrained within us about birth, and feeling more positive in pregnancy and more confident as well.
That's incredible. And it must have a very positive impact as well with your birth partner, who's coming in to join you on that journey. Is there an extension for partners as well, or is it something where you found, because the women that are going through this process, they feel so much calmer and so much more prepared, that is having it has a positive impact on the partners as well? Yeah,
and not just through that, not just that more positive for the partners because the mother herself is feeling calm, but actually on a hypnobirthing course, birth partners learn what they can do to support the birth process and play an active and supportive role. And that's generally a lot better than feeling completely like a lemon in the room and not knowing how to help and feeling out of control. And it's the out of control feeling that often is what makes a birth experience quite traumatic, is feeling completely out of control. And that can happen to birth partners as well. So when a birth partner comes on a hypnobirthing course and learns about what to expect and comes away essentially with a big to-do list of the things that they are responsible for, from kind of setting the scene to, timing the surges initially, to supporting and coaching mum through each surge, helping her to relax in between. I teach something like the traffic light system. And essentially they have a whole toolkit that they can use to support mum through the experience. They feel, it's a million times more positive for them because they feel like they're part of it and they know what they're doing. So it's great for birth partners as well. I have to say, when you were talking about partners, especially when things are kind of developing and there's that sense of losing control, I'm actually sat next to David, who's the father of two, and I can see him nodding away, because it must be it must be a terrifying feeling, but this is someone you love, about to have someone you're about to love as well. And if the situation's developing and you don't feel like you're equipped to step in and be able to help, it must be terrifying, in no shorter word. And I guess especially at the moment, I mean, it's it's been in the back of my mind, for a lot of pregnant women out there at the moment during this pandemic. And there's lots of things going on in the news about, partners going into scans or not, and all this kind of stuff. I mean,
how are you finding this period with, the customers and the people that are coming to you for help?
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of worry, especially initially at the beginning, a lot of worry and anxiety about giving birth alone. And indeed, we have had some women who have given birth alone, and we've shared their stories on our social media, and they have had positive experiences. But, it's not ideal. Nobody wants to give birth alone. But the rules have been throughout the whole of the time that as long as your birth partner isn't symptomatic, that they should be with you when you are giving birth. So that's been, it's never been that birth partners shouldn't be with the mum when she's giving birth, but there has been restrictions around birth partners on the antenatal and postnatal wards, and that was to kind of keep numbers down, essentially, so that on the wards there would be the women and the NHS staff. So what that's meant for birth partners and mothers is that if they've gone into labour and gone in early, or they've been induced, so therefore they've been on that antenatal ward, they haven't had their birth partner with them for that period of time, then once they're in established labour and they move to the delivery suite or the labour ward, then their birth partner would be able to join them. But yes, there's been lots of women, and still indeed in hospitals at the moment, where they might be experiencing that early labour or an induction without their birth partner, and that obviously is not ideal, and is very, very hard.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I suppose the whole very basis of hypnobirthing gives them at least the tools to kind of, deal with that, that separation.
We also have an app that we've created called Freya, which we didn't create in response to COVID. That was launched before, but is actually really useful now. It's a virtual birth partner. So the app is on the App Store and the Google Play Store. It's called Freya. And essentially it will never replace the real life birth partner. But what it does is every time you press the button to let it know that you're having a surge or a contraction, the audio will actually count for you, to count you through your breathing technique, and play a little kind of visual that's in sync with the breathing, so you can focus on that visual if you want. And then in between, it plays positive affirmations, which are really reassuring and encouraging. It plays music, and you can sync it to your Spotify playlist. And it also plays guided meditations. So and it also tracks your surges and keeps track of them in a log, so you can know how kind of frequently they're coming and how long they're lasting. So it will do a lot of jobs of the birth partner.
That's incredible.
If women ask for tips for if they're going to be on that antenatal ward without their partner, I say download the Freya app. It's not quite as good as the real thing, but it's a great second best.
My goodness, no, that sounds incredible, especially when you're counting, like you're saying, the surges, contractions and stuff like that. To be able to try and relay that information to a health professional whilst you're in the throes of giving birth is probably not something that you're solely focused on. But to have something to hand like that, I think that's a fantastic plan B, I have to be honest, because my husband would probably drive me crazy. So I'd probably be like, no, Freya's got me for the next few hours. You can wait outside. But
I say it's a good second best. I mean, it depends. It might just be the best.
Let's let's not rule it out completely here. No, but that sounds that's incredible. And so with all these techniques and everything that you've developed, I imagine you've got quite a team behind you of specialists that have helped build this kind of body of knowledge and work that you're able to put in practice.
Yeah, we work with, as we've grown, we work with a lot of different people on various different projects, which is really wonderful. So over the lockdown, we ran something called the Unwind series, for example, which was every single evening at 9 p.m. We went live with a relaxation session. And we did that for a month, and all of those sessions are still on our YouTube channel if anybody wants to revisit them. So we had, a breath workshops, guided meditation, sound baths, lots of different yoga. Sorry. We work with all of those kind of experts. So whenever we work on a new project, we kind of recruit the people that we need. So that's really a really nice part of the job.
Fantastic. I suppose it again just reiterates what you said earlier, that it's based in science, it's based with specialists and experts, and it's and you're just kind of providing a body of information and resource for all of these the parents about to kind of embark on this in what we've just said is it's just such an extraordinary, challenging time.
Yeah.
I think a massive high five has to go out to anybody who's, given birth during the pandemic, because what an extraordinary thing to say, in years to come, of going, oh yeah, that's what I did, kind of thing. And obviously this is a lot of, we're really focusing obviously on that before work of, and really preparing the mind and, a lot of exercise and a lot of stuff like that, concentration on the before birth. Is there techniques and things that you would recommend for the postpartum, the after?
Yes, so we have actually got a Postpartum Pack, which is a online course for afterwards, which we developed purely because the community asked us to. So we had our digital pack, which is our hypnobirthing program, and the feedback that we had in that first year was, it's excellent. I went into birth feeling really informed. I had an amazing birth experience. And then I came home and had no idea what I was doing, because so much of the focus is on, in pregnancy, on preparing for birth, but actually, what about afterwards? And then, I didn't feel confident and I didn't feel informed. So we heard that feedback all the time. So we created the Postpartum Pack, which is a series of 7 different workshops. And again, what we cover in the workshops is what came from the community. We asked them what they most wish they'd known more about. So we have a workshop on feeding, which covers breastfeeding and bottle feeding and expressing. We have infant sleep. We have maternal mental health. We have physical recovery from cesarean birth and vaginal birth. We have a relationship expert, life coach and counsellor, doing a workshop on overcoming relationship challenges, because obviously relationships change once the dynamic is different with a new baby into the mix. And then we have a well-being workshop as well, with a lovely yoga and meditation session. So we created all of that in sort of response to our community saying that they wanted that support postnatally. And we also have this really active postpartum community as well, which is really, really wonderful. And it's kind of like a forum that we have. And so we have that kind of support, but also we produce a lot of free resources as well, which we tend to share on our YouTube channel. So especially during the lockdown period, we've been aware that services have been not so accessible for new mums. So we've had hypnobirthing masterclasses, we've had breastfeeding workshops, both antenatal and postnatal breastfeeding workshops, and those are all available to watch for free on our YouTube channel as well. So we're always kind of listening and responding quite quickly to our community and creating what they're asking for.
That's absolutely incredible, because obviously, like we were saying, everything's sort of geared to the labour, the event of the giving birth. And the one thing that I found quite I don't know what the word is, but I found quite interesting. I don't know, again, this is probably not the right word to use, but a lot of my friends, I'd say probably maybe 2-3 months after they've had their baby, things start settling back down to normality, or a sense of, externally what might seem like normal, happy new little family. It would be probably maybe even a year later, they would come and say, I've never felt more lonely. And that's where the real kind of, I don't know if, it's the tiredness. It's a completely new experience. All of a sudden you're the mother of a tiny human and you've got to keep it alive, and you've got all that stress and strain, and maybe your partner's going back to work, and then all of a sudden you're on your own. And I think, when women really get behind women, especially like on a community forum and stuff like that. So I think it's fantastic. You've got so many like-minded women that have felt confident in what you do and have been able to kind of really go, this is a safe place. I'm going to talk about, I actually need a bit more extra help. And that this has been built up around that, because I know it's almost something that maybe women are a bit ashamed to admit after giving birth, that they might not be handling it very well. They're just adapting, which is totally understandable. So I always think it's always that after part that I think is always so important as well. And it's amazing you guys kind of cater for that continued care.
Yeah, it is so important. And you're right. There's so much pressure that women put on themselves, want to look, to be keeping the house tidy and got the baby and everyone's happy. This is meant to be your happiest time of your life. And actually it can be really, really hard. And you're learning new things that you've never done before, coupled with huge responsibility for this, what seems very fragile baby that you care so greatly about, on very little sleep and often with very little support. So it is a very challenging time, and and women typically will put a lot of pressure on themselves, so that can be really difficult, and especially with lockdown and the pandemic and not being able to go out to meet others and seek that support, peer support that would usually be readily available. So yes, it's been a really difficult time, but we do have those groups, those supportive, non-judgmental groups that we have are incredible spaces, and going on there and seeing the support that women are offering other women is amazing. And we've heard so many times that people say the course was worth the money just for that group, just for the access to that private group afterwards, because they have had so much benefit from that. So we do try to foster that in our communities.
I think that is just so fundamental and so important. I've also seen that you guys have partnered with 5 and More campaign, which is about
5 times more.
5 times more. Apologies. About raising awareness on maternal disparities for Black women in the UK. Can you tell me a little bit more about the work that you guys are doing for that?
Sure. So the 5 times more campaign is a really important campaign, raising awareness and campaigning for change when it comes to the mortality rates between Black women and white women in the UK. So Black women are currently 5 times more likely to die in childbirth and postnatally than white women. So there's a huge racial disparity there. So they are campaigning, 1, to raise awareness, 2, to understand the disparity and why that exists, and 3, campaigning for change so that gap can be closed. And that's something, we've always said at the Positive Birth Company, we want to make, a positive birth experience accessible for all. And really, it was in light of the Black Lives Matter movement that we really became more acutely aware of how actually how the different factors that actually prevent women from being able to have that positive birth experience, and that racial disparity and that gap in maternal mortality rates, which is so serious, actually something we hadn't done something to address. So we're very honoured to be able to partner with 5 times more to support their campaign, and we do that in a number of ways. So we recently sponsored an event that they ran. We work with their community to distribute our online course for free to Black women. We distribute 100 packs a month. It's not going to solve the problem, but again, part of our mission to make that education more accessible so women feel more empowered and confident going into birth and know their options and able to kind of speak up for themselves. And we actually in-house we use members of the PBC team to create artwork and stuff like that as well for the campaign.
That's an incredible stat. Like you just said, 5 times more.
Shocking.
I mean, that's insane, and that should be everywhere. You know what I mean? That should be on the news. And I think it's so, like you're saying, I think it's just, it's raising the education, it's raising our awareness and really broadening it out, because it's there shouldn't be any difference. It's women, and it's women giving birth, and it's making that journey as seamless and as memorable and, like you say, as such a positive experience. And there shouldn't be any disparity between one woman's experience to another.
It's really scary, and that little has been done within the healthcare system so far, up until recently, to actually address that's quite scary. But the 5 times more team are doing wonderful things and making real headway. So they had a petition which they wanted to get 100,000 signatures, and they well exceeded that. Then they've recently partnered with the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and they've produced 5 steps that healthcare professionals as well can take to ensure that Black women understand everything and are listened to, and everything that should be happening anyway, but really kind of solidifying that and making that known within the healthcare community as well. So they are making huge headway.
That's incredible. And just to kind of finish off, obviously, hypnobirthing is becoming more and more known within, sort of the kind of public domain. Like, people are becoming more aware of this as a really good alternative to just what we've known of what a birth experience should be like. Where would you like to see it, say, in like 10 years?
I'd like it to be available through the NHS, and so that every single woman in the UK, every single person that's giving birth in the UK gets to do a hypnobirthing course. That would be the dream, because it makes such a massive difference, and not just emotionally and psychologically, but also if women are more confident, they're more likely to choose birth centres over labour wards. Intervention rates are statistically a lot lower for birth centres, so there's better outcomes for mums and babies. Also, will save the NHS money because lower intervention would do that. So, I mean, there's just benefits for everybody, mentally, physically, and also cost when it comes to the NHS. So, yeah, my dream would be that everybody gets to do a hypnobirthing course.
No, absolutely. And I think it's, it should definitely be available as an option. So you're given the whole kind of banquet of things that you like you say, it's just all about making an informed decision that's right for you, and just being equipped for when the day does come. And I'm sure with you behind the hilt on this one, you'll be pushing that. I just say 10 years. Should we say 5? Yeah. Should I give you 5?
I mean, that's where we're working. That's what we're working towards.
No, absolutely. And I think, the pandemic has been such an odd time, and it continues to be so. But I think it is kind of really been an amazing time to raise like these voices across a number of different fields. And this is, especially with maternity in the wards, on the news, has been really coming up with but not maternity campaigns, everything like that. It's really bringing spotlights onto certain areas across the board. So I think, now is an amazing time to really kind of, get everybody's voices to join in and really kind of bang this drum, because I think it's such an important thing.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So final question for you.
Yes.
What does parenthood mean to you?
Oh God, what does parenthood?
Nice. I just thought I'd finish off with a really big, broad question there for you.
What does parenthood mean to me? Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to answer that. It means so. Oh my God, and on what day? Geez, on what day? It would be different each day. Parenthood mean to me.
I think that's probably like a brilliant answer, by the way. Just which day?
Yeah, which day? I mean, some days it like brings me to my knees, and some days it's the most joy. Being a mum to my 3 boys is the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, I think, and everything in between.
Yeah. You can tell I don't have kids. You can tell, can't you, with that question?
No. I feel like that's been a really bad answer, but no, I love being a mum, and I would love to have another baby, and I've already got 3, so it's the greatest. It's the greatest.
Yeah, I think that's almost like perfect advocacy right there, that labour doesn't have to be this... No,
if I could give birth tomorrow, I would absolutely do that, like in a heartbeat. Like I feel envious of people that are about to give birth, because it's just the most incredible experience. And I think something I actually should have said earlier as well is that, we're talking about misconceptions around what hypnobirthing is. People often think that a positive birth is an intervention-free birth, a water birth, a home birth, that's a positive birth. But actually, all births have the potential to be positive, because it's not the mechanics of how the birth happens that dictates whether the experience was positive or not, but actually it's how the mother felt during the experience that dictates whether it was positive or not. So whether you're having a straightforward water birth or you're having a more complicated birth experience or a cesarean birth, all of those births can feel positive if you're informed about your options. You feel calm, you feel in control, you feel respected, you feel listened to. Every single birth has the potential to be a really magical moment for you that you'll remember for the rest of your life.
That's I want that on a T-shirt. That's incredible. But no, I think that is such an I think amazing few words just to leave our listeners with, because I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? It's just how you approach it and how you walk away from the experience. And with the Positive Birth Company being able to provide you with those tools and that education to be able to do it. Thank you so much, Siobhan. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and I've learned a huge amount, and I'm sure our listeners have gained a huge amount of knowledge and understanding from this. And we'll be heading over to your website, be having a little look at your online digital courses, and just familiarising, because like you say, you're on YouTube, you've got Instagram, Facebook as well.
Yeah, all at the Positive Birth Company. We have so many free resources as well. So, going to our YouTube channel or our Instagram or IGTV, we have so many free resources. So I would encourage anybody who's listening, who's pregnant or has a new baby, to, go check us out on those social platforms, because you don't need to spend any money to actually be able to hopefully find something that benefits you.
No, fantastic. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Siobhan. And it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and have a lovely day.
And you.
Enjoy
Thank
parenthood.
You so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. To find out more information on the Positive Birth Company and the amazing work they are doing, head to the iCandy blog page at www.icandyworld.com/ICLife, where you'll find all the relevant links to the social pages that we've mentioned in today's podcast. iCandy is a proud supporter of Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital charity. COVID-19 means the hospital is facing new challenges and needs more support than ever to continue the life-changing care and research for seriously ill children. If you are able to support GOSH, please head to our dedicated fundraising page on www.justgiving.com/company/iCandy.